everyone, it's Natalie with Crochet by Natalie Lucille, and today we're going to do a variation of learning how to do the Picot, P-I-C-O-T, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, so I should call it a Picot, and a cluster. So what we're going to do is you're going to make your slip knot, just like that. I am using worsted weight yarn and an H 5mm hook. So when you start this pattern, you're going to do in multiples of 4, and then however long you want to make it, you're going to add 2 at the very end. So just for today's sake, we are going to do 16 plus 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, plus 2. 1, 2, almost just kept going. So in your foundation row, because I like to work in the back ridges of my crochet, what you're going to do, you're going to make your first picot. So you're going to skip 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, which creates your first picot, like that. And then you're going to skip, I'm trying to hold my hook a little bit different so it's easier to see on the screen. You're going to skip the next 3, and in the 4th chain you're going to make your cluster. So it's yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2. You're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through all 3, and that is your first cluster. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to make another cluster in this same stitch. So it's yarn over, insert, yarn over, draw up, yarn over, draw through 2. So leave that loop on there. You're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, draw up. It's so weird using these words. Yarn over, draw through 2. Then you're going to yarn over and draw through 3. That, is your first cluster, or cluster V-stitch kind of cluster. You're going to make a picot on the top of your second cluster. So you make a picot by chaining 3, 2, 3, and then in the top of your cluster back here, right there, you're going to make a slip stitch. Just like that. You're going to continue this all the way till you get to your last 2 chains. So you're going to skip 3. You're going to make a cluster into this 4th chain, yarn over, insert into the 4th, yarn over, draw up, yarn over, draw through 2. You're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, draw up, pull through, draw up, I guess, yarn over, draw through 2, and then yarn over, draw, pull through 3. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to make another cluster in that same stitch. You can see where it pulled up a little bit. So yarn over, insert in the same stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2. You're going to do it again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through all 3, just like that. You're going to make a picot, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slip stitch in the top here of your cluster, and you're going to draw through there. Again, because we're not quite at the end, we're going to do one more. So you skip the 3, 1, 2, 3, make your cluster into this one. So it's going to be yarn over, insert, yarn over, draw up, yarn over, pull through 2. You're going to do that again. Yarn over, same stitch, yarn over, draw up, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through, pull through all 3. Okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is the second part of your clustery V-stitch kind of thing. Yarn over, do that again. Yarn over and draw through 3, and you're going to make one last picot, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of your cluster, and there you have your first main row. When you get to your last 2 crochets, because remember it was the multiples of 4 plus the 2, here are your last 2. What you're wanting to do here, you're going to skip this chain, and in your last chain you're going to make a double crochet into that last chain, which doesn't want to go into the ridge. Maybe not. There we go. So you have a double crochet, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So there's your foundation row. Now when you start with row 2 and row 3, those are the 2 rows that you'll repeat throughout the entire pattern. So you want to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn your work. Now in this first picot here, you're going to work a picot or a cluster with the picot on top. I think, yes. So you're going to work your first cluster. So you insert, let me show you where you insert to. In this picot, because you want to make sure you're not going in any space here or here. You're going to go in the center inside your chain 3 picot space. So insert, yarn over, draw up. So you're making your first cluster, or a cluster, because there's only one in this one. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 3, and then you are going to work a picot, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slip stitch in the top of your cluster. So that is the beginning of this row. You're going to work yourself to the next picot here. And you're going to work the V-stitch cluster plus the picot in the top of that one. So I want to make sure that I've got everything that I want to be working with. Okay. So it's going to be, I'm going to hold it this way. In this picot, in the center here, you're going to work your cluster. So you're going to start out. I'm going to work a little bit faster. And you can always go back through and watch each, so you can work each pattern at your own pace. So the second cluster. And pull through, and you're going to work a picot at the very top. 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into here. And you're just going to work all your cluster V-stitch clusters inside your picots here. So you're going to work your next cluster inside the picot. See, boop. See how it looks? And first cluster. Then 1, 2, 3. Next cluster. And I'll throw 3. That's looking right, I think. It looks, yep. And the picot, 1, 2, 3. And you slip stitch right in there. And now that you've come to the end of your row, because we're working quite a short row here, and I want to make sure we have our picots as we should. Because I did one time where it ended up, I didn't do enough and it became diagonal. I don't know what happened. So this can kind of be, it can kind of get a little wonky, but as long as you keep your rows semi-straight, you can get an idea of what it's supposed to do, and it'll work for you. So now we're here to the last picot, and you're going to work a cluster, chain 1, and a double crochet into this one. So cluster. So it kind of almost mirrors the other end. So you have 1 cluster, pull through all 3. You're going to chain 1, and you're going to work in that same stitch. You're going to do a double crochet, and this completes your row 2. And you're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Turn your work. So you will slip stitch in the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So into this, you're going to slip stitch. That becomes your first picot of row 3. And then the next picot here, you're going to work a cluster, chain 3, cluster, picot. Yeah, same spot. Okay. There we go. Work your picot. 1, 2, 3. Let me turn it a little bit so you can see. So in the top of the cluster, you will make a slip stitch, just like that. Come to your next picot, right inside here, not in this hole here, but inside the picot. I don't know. Someone correct me, help me. We're going to make a cluster, chain 3 cluster again. One, 2, 3. Another cluster in that same spot. I feel like I get closer and then the camera goes out of focus. Chain 3 for your picot. There we go. And you come to your last picot, and what you're going to do, let's see, what is this, the last one? I guess, let's see. I want to make sure because I've got 3, 3, because I don't want to mess it up again. So I've come to this picot. I'm not quite done yet, so I do have another cluster to do. I almost did my diagonal again. And that just won't work. You may even want to do stitch markers into your last, second to last or last picot. So because it looked like it was a little bit flatter and it looked like it was at the end of the row. I'm glad I looked at it again, because, mistakes happen. And it's good to catch them early on instead of halfway through the work when everything becomes a little wonky. So there you have that. So you're going to come to your end here, and this is the turning chain. And what you want to do is you're going to double crochet in the third chain. So you'll kind of have like a little hole here. So you're going to go into the third chain. So 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to make a double crochet. Just like that. So it's a really, quite large actually, open weave, but it kind of has a cool little pattern to it, and it's a great way to practice clusters and picots, and just kind of, it's a little, I guess you could call it whimsical, I suppose. So let's go ahead and do row number 2 and 3 one more time, just to show you how the pattern continues. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn your work. So we're going to start row 2 over again. So in this first picot here, you're going to do 1 cluster and 1 picot. So, whoops, that's not in the right place. It has to go right in the center there in the picot, and I went to the side. We're going to work a cluster and a picot. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch into that, and you're going to work that across. In your next picot, you're going to work the cluster, chain 3, cluster, picot, chain 3, cluster, and a picot. 1, 2, 3. And this design honestly would look really pretty with lacy sport weight yarn, as like a shawl or a scarf. It has a nice open weave. I'm not sure so much as a blanket because of the open weave, but everybody has personal preferences. Cluster in the first picot. Chain 3. Cluster. And picot. 1, 2, 3. So I want to make sure everything is adding up. So I only have, I need to go into this last picot because I want to make sure I don't want to come up on a diagonal like I did before. So there's the 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So it'll have, it'll mirror this one here. I just wanted to make sure. And I really it might be a good idea to use the stitch markers just to make sure. So in this last picot, you're just going to work a cluster, chain 1, double crochet. So see right here, cluster, chain 1, double crochet. So that completes row number 2 again. So you can see how it kind of is coming together, and why this would actually be really cool on a lacy, almost like, what do they call it? Finger weight or something like this, almost a little bit bigger than a thread, but it would just make for a very elegant design, I think. So now we're going to do row 3 again. So we're going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to turn the work. And in the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to do a picot. 1, 2, 3. There's the 4th. We're going to do that. There we go. And then we're going to come to our next picot here. And we're going to do a cluster, chain 3, cluster picot. And that is the entire pattern, where you're just make sure you remember what the ends are for row 2, row 3, and you can look at the work as well to see what you did below from the previous round, or not round, but row, to kind of keep your edges straight. You would want to do a really pretty finishing border on this, because the edges, it would straighten out your edges and just make it look a little bit more polished. So you can even do like a regular single crochet border around the edge, and it would make it look really nice. And I just like the finished look. Another cluster in the next picot here. Is it a Picot? Is it a Picot? Oh my gosh, it's going to drive me crazy all day. I'll have to look it up. Another cluster. Oh, my thumb wasn't in the way. Picot. And to be honest, I'm using what I have. Right now I can't get out to the stores because we're still in quarantine from the coronavirus. So I'm using just the best camera angle that I can. I've got my yarn that I have literally stashed away because I'm working on about 20 projects right now, as I always have. I always do that. So my camera angle is just what I have with what I got. So I hope you're still able to see everything as it's being worked. So there's your final picot. So make sure, yep, everything is lining up. So in the very last, in the chain 4 space or in this chain 4 space, you're going to do a double crochet in the 3rd chain. So really there's right here. So this is your chain 3 of the chain 4 space, if that makes sense. You're going to do 1 double crochet. And you're just going to continue this pattern until you feel like it's where you want to end. So you can kind of see what it would look like. And that's why I really think in the finger weight yarn or finger lace or lace yarn, this would make a really pretty lightweight open weave shawl or a scarf. It's very pretty. I like the design. But yes, it would definitely look, finished with the border around the edge. And you can even make the corners more pronounced. So there you have it. So I hope you are having a great quarantine day as well. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, you won't be quarantined and you can go out and get you some yarn to make this. So y'all have a great day, and we'll see you on the next time around. Bye.